It's been a while since the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra has launched, and the initial sales numbers are not looking that good, and that's mostly due to the fact that a global pandemic has actually put a stop on smartphone sales because essentials are more important right now. Having said that, I've used this phone and I think that there is a lot going for it. Maybe after watching my review, you might be convinced to pick one up after the lockdown ends. Or maybe not. Well, I'm Ershad from Mr. Phone, and let's get down to our review of the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra 2 months later. After having used the S20 Plus, the Ultra is a stark departure from the S20 Plus's thin and comfortable size. The Ultra is just ultra in terms of size. It is thick and heavy at 229 grams. Even for someone like me with equally massive hands, the Ultra felt a bit excessive. But for what it is worth, all that weight is distributed evenly across the surface, making it an ergonomic success for sure. And that quad camera module on the rear extends so far out that without protection, you're bound to damage it, like I did with these two scuffs on the frame. Although the bundled case should help you evade the external damage thanks to the extended lip. As for the rest of the design, it is as usual. You get a Type-C port at the bottom, a speaker grill that works with the earpiece and stereo setup, an excellently tactile power button and volume rocker to the right. What's absent now is the headphone jack and the dedicated Bixby button. So overall, I think my assessment of the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra's design would be a gargantuan sized, boring perfection. Now, when it comes to the massive 6.9-inch display on the front, I've spoken at length in my S20 Plus review as well. It is one of the best, if not the absolute best displays in the industry. You get punchy colors, great contrast, excellent brightness and HDR support. But the attraction is the 120Hz refresh rate, and that just elevates the viewing, scrolling and overall usage experience to a whole nother level. Ideally, I would have wanted 120Hz at WQHD resolution as well, considering the Find X2 Pro can do it, but we shall take what we get for now. Also, thanks to the massive display, crunching through sessions of COD was super fun on this phone. And the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner felt faster compared to the S10 and the Note 10, but it is still not as fast as the one on phones such as the OnePlus 7T Pro. The S20 Ultra's camera setup is essentially Samsung going all out bonkers. You get 4 cameras on the rear and 1 on the front. The megapixel counts of these cameras itself are mind-boggling. You get a 108 megapixel primary, a 48 megapixel 103mm or 4x periscope zoom telephoto, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide, a 0.3 megapixel TOF, and finally a 40 megapixel selfie camera. Now let me just sum up what I thought about the cameras in a few salient points for you. Firstly, the camera takes crispy pictures that are slightly oversaturated but look good. The blues, the reds and the greens are picked up by the software algorithm to give you an attractive image overall. The 108 megapixel samples are extremely crisp in good lighting situations, and so are the regular 12MP 9:1 pixel bin samples. In fact, pixel binning makes it extremely sharp at close quarters, and you are bound to get some super crispy shots that won't deteriorate in sharpness even when you blow it up. The HDR algorithm could have been better by lifting details from the shadows or the darker areas. I felt that the iPhone 11 Pro was better most of the times. But since the sensor is so big, the plane of focus is very shallow on the 1.8mm lens. Therefore, if you go too close to a subject, you will end up blurring a part of the subject on most occasions. Now, there were some concerns about autofocusing issues, but it was mostly alright on my unit, except for a few jerks here and there. And it was alright because Samsung also issued at least a couple of updates after I got the phone. Now, having said that, the iPhone 11 series phones are faster and smoother when locking focus or switching focus respectively. Telephoto shots up to 10x zoom are fabulous. Anything beyond that is not so great, and the so-called 100x space zoom is not usable most of the time. But the 100x zoom is not the point here. Even to get a crisp 10x optical zoom shot like this one on your screen is something that smartphone cameras couldn't do until now, and now you can achieve that. The 40 megapixel selfie camera takes 10MP pixel bin selfies, and that is good for most use cases. These selfies are super duper sharp and fairly color accurate too, no concerns there. Now, while you can shoot 8K videos using the phone, it is mostly pointless considering the massive file sizes, plus rolling shutter and limitation of 24 FPS recording. But at 4K, the S20 Ultra can capture some incredible video footage using the wide, regular and front camera. It is definitely the second best camera when it comes to video recording, because I still think the iPhone 11 Pro has a slight bit of dynamic range advantage over the S20 Ultra. Finally, the low light performance is great, and in extreme low light conditions, the sensitivity is even better than the S20 Plus and the iPhone 11 Pro. Now, you can't go wrong with the cameras on the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. But is it the best camera smartphone out there? Maybe not, but it is definitely in the top 3. By now we know that the Exynos 990 is not as powerful as the Snapdragon 865 and is almost on par with Snapdragon 855 Plus. You have stats on your screen to see the differences in scores. But what matters is day-to-day usage, and in that the S20 Ultra shines. No problems whatsoever. Gaming is good too, but not the best. The Snapdragon 865 should be better for competitive gamers. For casual gaming, and if you are like me who likes to play a couple of games of COD before going to sleep, then the S20 Ultra should serve you well. And for the stereo speakers, they sound great. The audio performance through wired and wireless headphones are also satisfactory, no problemo. And I really like the One UI 2.0 based Android 10, like I've mentioned in previous review. One UI has always been great. I have no complaints whatsoever. Now, since the S20 Ultra is a bigger phone, Samsung has added a larger 5000 mAh battery inside it. I expected it to last longer than the S20 Plus, and it did. But the difference is not so much. I mean, I got around 5 hours 30 minutes on FHD Plus with 120Hz, 6 hours on QHD Plus with 60Hz, and 6 hours 30 minutes on FHD Plus and 60Hz. On cross verification with the S20 Plus, I managed to eke out 1 hour more of screen on time from the S20 Ultra compared to the S20 Plus. But you know what? The SD865 variant will still offer better battery life compared to Exynos 990 system on chip. Moving on, the call quality has been great, and I've had solid call performance and network performance on Airtel's 4G network here in Delhi NCR. The more I use the S20 Ultra, I'm convinced that the S20 Plus is not just a great alternative, but also practically a better buy too. I mean, for the extra money, you do get an upgraded periscope lens, and it takes incredible pictures. I should know, I've already gotten great samples, but that's about it. And for all intents and purposes, the upgraded cameras on the S20 Ultra are very similar in performance to the S20 Plus. So why plonk in that extra moolah when you can get the S20 Plus for cheaper? And that's not it. The S20 Plus is also slimmer and easier to hold and use with one hand as well. Maybe the S20 Ultra would have been a better option if Samsung actually gave support for 5G in India, but well, we get what we get. Now, don't get me wrong, the S20 Ultra is actually a good phone, and if you do end up buying it, you're going to enjoy using it. But trust me, the S20 Plus feels like a more sensible option out there, and the S20 Ultra feels like too much of a good thing. Well, I hope you liked my assessment of the S20 Ultra 2 months later. Do let me know what you guys thought about it. Until next time, this is Ershad from Mr. Phone signing off. Goodbye and Godspeed, my friends.